What's up, guys? It's Russell. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe because we talk about everything from stock alert services to investment services to tips and tricks for stock trading. And today I'm actually shifting gears a little bit and talking about the sort of underlying reasons that we turn to stock trading and business in general. So this is something that I'm really passionate about. It's basically what changed my life about 10 years ago. And today's topic is basically 5 reasons to work for profits and not wages. And this is something really close to my heart. So basically, it's weird that they don't teach this in school. And I was thinking about it and looking into it a little bit, and it seems like school is basically this archaic thing that was, basically brought to, basically train people to work in factories during the Industrial Revolution. And it really hasn't changed ever since, and I wish it would, because it would change everybody's life for the better, at least the people that had this inclination to work for profits and not for wages. So this is a huge issue in the world, in my opinion, and it's something that I want to do a little bit more about on this channel, because it doesn't just apply to trading, right? There's lots and lots of ways to make profits and to basically free yourself up from the typical 9-to-5 job, which a lot of people, that's the main reason a lot of people have turned to stock trading, because it offers that easy, low barrier to entry now that we have things like Robinhood and these, easy online brokerages that you can just kind of get started. Trading's difficult, but the barrier to entry these days is really low. You only need $500 and a phone to get going. So people have started trading, at least, I'm super excited for that, because everybody has made this step from being this, uncomfortably comfortable step. So most people just live their lives where they think that a job is where, you can get that security and you can just get this fixed income that just, comes in every month and you feel safe. So I guess my story is a little different. I was a research scientist living on grant money. So often the grant money would just dry out, and it felt like I was running a business where I would have these big gaps in my income, and my performance was directly tied to winning grants. So basically, I made the shift towards working for profits and not for wages. And these are 5 reasons that I highly suggest you do it if you aren't already doing it. So I started out, my goal was just to make a couple $100 extra while I was working my job. And over time that compounded and grew exponentially. And as you'll see, that's one of the huge advantages to working for profits and not for wages. So let me just show you this. And I'll leave a link to this article in the description below. This is one of our blogs my wife and I started. It's called Unconventional Prosperity. It's everything from how to make more money, start different side hustles and businesses, with a bit of stock trading thrown in there, and some almost self-helpy type stuff like this. So the number one reason that I think is why you want to work for profits and not wages is that freedom. So for me, being tied down to a 9-to-5 job means that you have to work in a particular city, particular location. You can't really take time off all that much, especially in the US. I think most people only get a couple of weeks if they're lucky vacation. And for me, that makes you a modern day slave. And if that sounds kind of over the top, if you really think about it, it's not, right? Especially if you're not working a super high paid job, maybe like minimum wage or a bit over minimum wage. You're basically selling your life out for $20 an hour. And your life is priceless, so why would you do that unless you absolutely love what you're doing? So, if you talk to people, I would say 90% of people don't like what they're doing, but they still do it. Partly because they don't know how to get out of it, but also just because it's ingrained so deeply in us from the education system from very early age. If you think about it, giving up 5 days of your week for 2 days of your own time at the weekend is just really a horrible deal. It's not ideal at all. Shouldn't it be the other way around? You spend 5 days having fun, enjoying your life with your family, and then 2 days generating income. And that's what working for profits and not wages actually allows you to do. So freedom, that's the number one reason you should work for profits and not wages. Leverage is the next one. So leverage is this interesting idea that you can put a small amount in and you get a lot more out. So it's like options trading, really, where you put a small amount in and then you have this amplifying nonlinear factor, which allows you to absolutely skyrocket your effort to outcome ratio. And that's where owning a business or stock trading or doing any of these types of things where you're making profits and not wages, is where you have this potential to really grow exponentially. So for example, in business, if you hire other people, you can get a return on all of those people's time and efforts. So you can basically free up your own time and you build up more income streams or expand your businesses. It's just such an obvious thing to do when you really think about it. So this comes to the point of linear income. So even people that make high income, such as doctors, dentists, lawyers, this is fantastic, but the problem is they're still limited in their time, right? So if they just work for a company or an organization, they have limited time and limited income in that it's capped. It may go up a tiny percent every year, but they're not going to suddenly go from making 200,000 a year to 200 million a year, right? It just isn't going to happen. And unless they can duplicate themselves and have them all going out like little armies of people to make money, it just isn't going to change. It's going to be the same. And that's fine. I mean, these guys live great lives. There's nothing wrong with this stuff. But if you truly want to get ahead, you really need to shift from this linear income thinking to exponential thinking. So here's a basic idea. As time goes on, a wage basically just keeps accumulating money at this sort of rate. But if you actually set up passive income streams in your own business or start trading stocks and buying dividends, things like that, it may start off much slower, right? You're not going to make much in the beginning, but over time, your income is just going to take off, and technically you have an infinite level of wealth over the course of your lifetime. Of course, that's not going to happen, but you get the idea, right? So that really leads into this idea of recurring income. And this is something that I'm really, really passionate about. The fact you can do something once, like set up a small business, and then that keeps generating you money even if you're not putting in any effort or very little effort. It used to be called passive income, but passive is not really that accurate a term, right? Because it implies laziness. It implies like you just lie in bed, do nothing at all. Whereas really you have to put up a lot of work up front for recurring income, and then it keeps generating over and over and over again. And that's how you get on this exponential growth curve, where you basically just keep setting up more and more and more streams of income until you're making so much money you can literally just lie in bed all day. But it takes a lot of work up front. So that's why it's really recurring income. So, for example, like this blog post that you're reading on my screen right now, or even the YouTube video that you're watching, when people put ads on those, it just takes me 10 or 15 minutes to make the video. But for the rest of my life, that will continue as it gets viewed over time, will continue to trickle in a small stream of income. And if you just keep stacking that over and over and over, then it really just starts to add up. So this blog post is another example. I don't have ads on it at the moment because I've blocked them, but most people viewing this will see a couple ads on the page, and I get paid every single time those ads are just viewed, which means that this blog post will be making me money for the rest of my life that it's published. And these are small amounts of money, but they really stack up, and you end up growing with this exponential income growth curve. So one thing to mention here is some other forms that you can do this in. One of my favorite are dividends. So monthly dividends, it's so passive. You just buy the thing. It takes 5 minutes, and then you hold it and you just keep getting money put into your account every month. So that is something I really love doing. Real estate rentals are another one. You can just buy a house, make the money work for you, and then rent it out. Slightly higher, slightly harder to get into that because you need some capital, but it's still an amazing way to do it. The other reason to work for profits and not for wages is that really the tax system in the US is designed for entrepreneurs. So as an employee, the government gets paid first out of your wages, it takes tax out. But as a self-employed person, you get to deduct everything from your tax bill. So you actually, you lower your tax so that you pay much less on your taxable income. So you're basically paying yourself first and then your taxes last, as opposed to an employee who pays their tax first and themselves second. So you can really, legally reduce your taxable income. For example, there are many people that are making six figures, multiple six figures, and paying as little as 14 or 15% federal tax because of all the write-offs and things that you get, the advantages. Real estate is a great example with the write-offs you can get in real estate. So tax benefits are definitely a reason to work for wages and not for profits. Very simple way just to put more money in your pocket. And finally, for this article, I basically put that wages will make you a living, but profits will make you a fortune. And that's so true. I think that was said by Jim Rohn, the self-help guru guy. And it's definitely worth pointing out that even if you're extremely skilled, top of the 1% employees, you may make $100,000 per month, right? Probably not, though. Probably not. I mean, most people with high education, high-paying jobs maybe make $10,000 or $20,000 a month, at best. And that's great. That's but it's you're never going to make $100,000 or $500,000 a month as an employee. Even the top surgeons and things in the world, top lawyers, they can get close to that, but the chances are extremely low. It's much, much easier to build businesses if you know what you're doing and you invest in yourself and in your education to get to that kind of profits compared to trying to earn that as a wage. One example is Michelle Schroder Gardner. She is a blogger, a personal finance blogger, and she makes about $150,000 a month just blogging about finance. And it took her a couple of years, but she was a highly trained, I think she was a CPA or something. She was really ambitious, really into finance, and she would never come close to this kind of numbers when she was working for a wage. And that comes down to the very final point here is, unfortunately, as an employee, it's extremely difficult to be paid what you're worth, because if they paid you exactly how much that they were making, they would never make any money, right? So imagine you go out as a salesperson and you produce $100,000 worth of sales in a year. Well, if they pay you that, then they're not making any money. So what's the point in, they're not leveraging you, which comes back to the point that I started with. They're not leveraging their employees. So by the very nature of it, when you work as an employee, you must be generating more money than they're paying you. So you're not being paid what you're worth. Whereas entrepreneurship rewards your effort and ability in a non-linear way. So so I hope that's useful. I know a lot of people watching this are already entrepreneurs, but for you guys that are maybe still just trying to, find out what you want to do, whether you want to get out of your 9-to-5 job, it's really worth thinking that it's better to work for wages and not for profits. And you can start with very little money, very little time, starting trading in the mornings, taking, pre-market trades, or just working in the evenings after work, setting up some sort of little side hustle. Maybe that's learning about trading so, you can eventually start trading or investing. Maybe it's reading about real estate, starting to set up a little real estate business, or something as simple as doing a side hustle like, setting up a freelance business with proofreading. That's a common one. Or setting up some sort of, way to leverage the skills that you already have outside of your main 9-to-5 job. So that's about all I have to say on working for profits and not wages. I hope this is helpful, and make sure you subscribe, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about this stuff as well as my usual stock alert service reviews, and just basically try and do a little bit more on general income generation as well, because it's really great to have more than one source of income, right? So you may be making some money trading, but you want to also try and diversify that income and try and build up. And they say that the average millionaire has about 7 income streams. And I think at the moment I've lost count of how many income streams that my wife and I have built up over the years. But that's great, because if one's not doing well, like trading's not doing that well this year, we don't end up homeless. So. Alright guys, I'll catch up with you in the next video, and take care. Cheers.